Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. I really appreciate it. If we're going to go ahead and start and talk about Guff, Coach Guffin, I'm sorry. Great basketball player, very good three-point shooter, doesn't play a lick of defense, not even a little bit. None whatsoever. That's why he didn't play at North Central, no D. So it's really great to be back here for the first time since 2003. I can't believe how much this place has changed. As Mary was saying, that most of this didn't exist, and I'm thrilled that this place is continuing to thrive. So we'll go ahead and get started. Today, I want to talk to you all about goals, how they shape your life, how they can change, and how giving up on certain goals really isn't the end of the world. So I've had a really long, winding road to get where I am today. My goals and plans changed multiple times, but really it's all been for the better in the long run. I made a lot of difficult decisions to change my education path and made even harder changes to my career goals. This all started with the foundation that was laid here at this school. The skills I started to develop here have been invaluable. So I'm going to take you through my journey today in the hopes that it might help some of you going forward. So we're going to go back in time. We're going to go all the way back to the mid-1990s when I transferred to Sycamore for 5th grade. I was coming from an IPS school, so it was a bit of a shock when I got here, but really quickly I felt very welcomed and was ushered forward by some truly wonderful teachers. I'm sure a lot of you have had something similar happen. So my favorite subjects in school always revolved around social studies, history, government, economics. These are the classes I really shined in during middle school and high school. And really, I could thank two people in my life for this. One, Mr. Strobel, who Mary mentioned, was one of the most engaging teachers I ever had, all the way through my grad courses. Just an incredible teacher. He really made students look forward to his lectures. The other one is my dad, who was a political science major and the former head of city planning here in Indianapolis. So really liking these subjects was kind of ingrained in my DNA. The love of these subjects continued after Sycamore into North Central. Because I was so interested in political science, I decided I was going to go to law school. Pretty much every other poli-sci major at IU was pre-law. I liked the flexibility that the law degree provided, and it seemed like one of the most diverse things you could do in college. Law school graduates work in so many different industries, whether or not they're even practicing law. I didn't really care at the time that law schools were putting out one lawyer for every 4 people in the mid-2000s. This was the first goal that I really set for myself. I was pre-law, and I was going to go out there and get that advanced degree. So after graduating from IU, I actually wanted a break from school and to get some real-world experience. So thankfully, due to some connections I made in college, I was able to get a position at a small but thriving law firm in Indianapolis. They needed an office administrator, and I was lucky enough to get that position. This was the perfect opportunity for me to get hands-on experience in the field that I wanted to be in. At this law firm, I learned just so much from some really, really impressive attorneys. But I wasn't really sure I liked the culture or the process. The hours that junior associates put in when they're fresh out of law school is staggering. It wasn't something I was sure that I really wanted to do. Expectations were sky high, as were the stress levels amongst those associates. I didn't really think that this was an environment that I would thrive in, and frankly, some of the antics at the law firm left a sour taste in my mouth. But it was really informative, though, and helped me grow post-college. It was in this time that I decided I really didn't want to go to law school. The transition from college and trying to figure out a career path was frustrating. Reality was so different from my expectations, and I began to question pretty much every single action and thought that I was taking. My goals had changed substantially, and it left me confused, unsure of what I wanted to do next. Law school had been my dream. However, it was quickly turning into just some kind of side quest. It really wasn't my main mission anymore. While this was jarring for me and a complete shift, I really wasn't disappointed. It was important for me to get some hands-on experience to find out if I would even like the field. I wish I'd been able to do it sooner. After leaving the law firm, I worked at a surgical center for a year. This wasn't any kind of grand plan, it was just a job I fell into, mainly to pay the bills. But it happened to be the hospital where the Colts players were treated. So that was pretty cool. I was able to talk with players like Jeff Saturday, a former teammate of Peyton Manning, if you aren't aware, about the NFL draft and other aspects of the team. It started to stoke an interest that I'd never really considered. At the same time, there was a small explosion in online sports blogging. Coincidentally, a new graduate program was coming together at IUPUI that offered a master's in sports journalism. I'd found something I was passionate about and had a perfect opportunity to receive the education to turn that passion into my profession. I had a brand new goal. I was very excited at that time. I was lucky enough to write for one of those newer blogs I mentioned, and I got to flex some creative writing muscles that I really didn't know I had. I needed to pass a few prerequisite journalism courses before grad school, and in doing so I found that it was a natural fit. I excelled in those classes, as well as my graduate ones, in a way that even surprised myself. This was honestly the first time being a straight A student was effortless for me. And that's not to say I didn't put in the hard work then or in the past, but this time it was invigorating and enjoyable. I loved it. So while that coursework was important, what was really special about this graduate program is the opportunities that it offered its students. We regularly had big names in journalism coming to speak to our classes and offer advice. I got press credentials for some of the biggest sporting events in the country. I got to go to Florida and cover MLB spring training. I got to cover the Indy 500 for a week. I got to go to Big Ten championship games and even events around the Super Bowl. It was absolutely incredible. These experiences were beyond measure as I moved closer to my goals. Once I'd received my master's degree, I lost access to all those big events. My first job was covering high school sports for a local website. Despite the seeming downgrade in coverage from all those fancy highfalutin events, I still had a great time reporting on high school sports, especially when I got credentialed to championship games at Lucas Oil Stadium or the Fieldhouse. After covering high school, I worked with a small blog covering IU athletics. It felt like I was moving up through the ranks, graduating to the next level of sports, finally actualizing on my goals. A year with them led to an offer from Sports Illustrated subsidiary. So the magazine, Sports Illustrated, might effectively be dead now, but it was still a big deal a decade ago. You can ask your parents about that, they can tell you. I was the editor of my own website, where I got to cover not only IU, but Purdue, Butler, Notre Dame, even the Colts and Pacers. Frankly, it was a lot of work, but at the end of the day, my job was just watching football and basketball. It was pretty great. A year of covering the entire state allowed me to accept their offer to revive the company's Colts website. So despite dropping down and only covering one team, it was a much better deal. A little less stress, and the NFL is king when it comes to attention and traffic. It felt like a brand new door had opened up for me as I was progressing on my quest. I spent the years covering all aspects of the team, speaking with current and former players, and offering my pre- and post-game analysis. One of the really cool things about the last two positions I held in journalism was that it let me bring on people who wanted to get a little writing experience. Got to pass on some of the knowledge I learned in grad school to these young writers and give them an opportunity to flex their chops. That was a really rewarding part of the job. However, as time went on, I found myself stuck. I had thought that this would be my dream job. But then a couple of things that were completely out of my control happened in rapid succession. The company I worked for was bought out and the pay structure changed. And then Facebook falsely claimed that video was king and the sports media landscape pivoted to video. This led to massive shifts in the journalism industry that came with multiple rounds of layoffs. All of this was going on while the expectations for publication increased, and we were chastised if we didn't post every day. So you might have heard of something called working for exposure, and that's basically what this job became. I don't recommend it. You should know your value when you're working. Most journalistic outlets expect a few stories a week, depending on the time of year, from their writers. And this wasn't that. The workload made me feel like I was always on call 7 days a week. It wasn't sustainable. It turns out I was on another side quest. As much as I enjoyed the high points of the job, getting to watch sports, it really wasn't moving my life forward. My career was at a standstill as the industry began to contract. I was burnt out. This had been my dream job, but I was miserable. I knew things had to change. I talked with friends and family and eventually decided to meet with a career counselor. He had me take an aptitude test and asked if I'd ever considered coding. It had never crossed my mind. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was unlocking a new path on my journey. I went to a few networking events that piqued my interest, but this still wasn't an easy move for me to make. After wrestling with my decisions for a while, I eventually made the difficult decision to change careers and essentially go back to school in my 30s. Not that there's a bad time to go back for more education. It was quite an investment and required a leap of faith, but I enrolled at the 1150 Academy to learn to code, founded by Scott Jones. It was a great experience that would start my career path and stabilize my life. I started this new path in digital marketing, building dozens of websites for companies all over the world and getting to scratch that same creative itch I'd had from writing. I worked on the in-house marketing team for a tech startup where we set fundraising milestones in Indiana. And now, I'm leading a marketing team at one of the fastest growing and most disruptive franchise businesses in the country. Current company is called Smash My Trash. We have a big machine that comes through and compresses dumpster waste. It's kind of cool. I found my main quest, and now I'm achieving my goals. Okay, so you might be bored to tears and wondering, what does this long-winding story have to do with me? Does it have a point? So here's what I want you to take away from my experience. I want you all to know that it will take time to find out what and who you really are. Plenty of people, including some of my former classmates from Sycamore, have had false starts in life and had to reinvent themselves or pivot their careers. There is a lot of pressure put on students here at Sycamore, and there's going to be even more in high school. Pressure to plan out your life and hit certain academic milestones. But all of that hard work is going to leave you so well prepared to handle your post-education lives that you're going to look back and actually be able to appreciate how hours of homework and critical thinking exercises are serving you. The skills I learned here at Sycamore, chief among them critical thinking and creative problem solving, have turned out to be some of the most useful in my life and career. These abilities help me improve my media literacy and turn a critical eye on important issues in the world as a journalist. They've helped me solve problems and find trouble spots and future-proof my work when developing websites and applications. The foundation that I built here has helped evolve my current career from website builder to leading a marketing team. I am grateful for all the side quests that I've taken, my dreams of law school, the foray into journalism. I wouldn't be where I am without them. even though I changed my objective multiple times. Goals are what you set for yourself, what you want to accomplish now and in the future. Never lose track of your goals and the opportunities that may help you achieve them, even if they evolve over time. For me, it was a long, circuitous route that evolved and changed directions many times. But the foundation here at Sycamore is what really set me up for success. Thank you.